We have some interesting news coming out of Kamala Harris's disastrous campaign that led to her getting her ass whooped in last Tuesday's presidential election to Donald Trump, and Donald Trump not only beating her in the electoral college vote, but also the popular vote, and also sweeping all 7 swing states. It was a total annihilation, a complete domination. The race wasn't even close. But we got some financial numbers that have came out from both political candidates' campaign funds. Now, Kamala Harris was able to raise $1 billion in her campaign fund, compared to Donald Trump has raised around $388 million in campaign funds. But the $1 billion that Kamala Harris's campaign was able to raise has now ended up in $20 million in debt. That is correct. Kamala Harris's campaign is now in $20 million in debt after raising $1 billion in cash. Now, here are some of the breakdowns of some of her financial spending in terms of her campaign. So $10 million reportedly went to Beyonce to only do a 2-minute speech that was supposed to be a performance. $5 million went to Meg Thee Stallion just to twerk on stage. $3 million went to Lizzo. $1.8 million went to Eminem. And reportedly $1 million went to Oprah Winfrey. And also $100,000 went to the host of the Call Her Daddy podcast that was set up to build a studio in Washington, D.C. in a hotel room, because Kamala Harris did not want to fly to California to do the podcast. So she instead flew out the host to set up studio in Washington, D.C., just how she refused to travel to Austin, Texas to be on the #1 listened to podcast in the world and have a sit-down conversation with Joe Rogan, because she knew that she was going to get completely destroyed, demolished, and exposed as the fraud that she was and is on the Joe Rogan podcast. Now, a couple things to point out here. This goes to show you that all these A-list celebrities who have publicly came out and endorsed and showed their support for Kamala Harris were all bought and paid for. They were all bought and paid for. It's safe to say that none of those A-list celebrities even voted for her in this past presidential election. Not to mention, they have never voted in their entire life. They don't even know what an election ballot looks like. They've never filled one out in their entire lives. Number two, how in the hell did this woman, who came out publicly, said that she was better suited to handle the economy? The mainstream lying propaganda left media kept saying that she was better suited to handle and fix the economy that she destroyed, couldn't even handle or properly budget her own campaign finances. This right here is a complete joke. She was saying she was better handled to fix the economy than Donald Trump. The mainstream news media was saying she was also better handled and suited to fix the economy over Donald Trump. Yet she couldn't even properly budget or finance her own campaign funds. And number 3, it goes to show you that elections cannot be bought. It is won through the people, through the middle class. Donald Trump was able to raise less than half of what she raised, and he's still able to get his message out there more effectively to the middle class. That's why he won. She spent all that money on advertisements, all that money on billboards, all that money on ads, and it still did not work. She spent $1 billion just to lose in the election. It goes to show you, money does not buy you elections. Now, there's also been reports that a lot of Kamala Harris's staffers were reportedly saying that they were not paid their last 2 weeks because Kamala Harris does not have the money. They're in $20 million worth of debt. So it's going to be interesting to see if they end up getting paid for their services, or they're going to have to, maybe file a lawsuit to get their money from Kamala Harris. But it's just funny to show that everybody kept saying, especially people on the left, that she is a better candidate to handle the economy, yet she can't even handle her own campaign finances. But you don't have to listen to me. All this information is public on the FEC.com, which is the Federal Election Committee. they are required to post their numbers and made it aware to the public. So you don't have to listen to me. You can go on to fec.gov. It's official government unbiased website, and you could take a look on there. But also, if you don't believe that, take a look at DNC official Lindy Liu, who was also a surrogate of the Kamala Harris campaign, where she talked about how disastrous her campaign was. She was on Fox. Take a listen to what she had to say.
I mean, I'm not on anyone's payroll. I'm not beholden to anyone. That's why I'm here telling the truth. I'm not here to gaslight anybody. This is just the truth.
What is the truth?
The truth is this is just an epic disaster. This is a $1 billion disaster. Actually, it was $1.018 billion, I think, right? There were $20 million or $18 million in debt.
Right.
It's incredible. And I raised millions of that. I have friends that I have to be accountable to. And
you heard what she said. She helped raise millions of dollars to the Kamala Harris campaign, and she asked her rich and well-connected donors to write those checks to Kamala Harris's campaign, and it was a complete disaster. Complete and utter mitigated disaster. They all should demand their money back plus interest.
Explain what happened, because I told them it was a margin of error race. I was promised, Jen O'Malley Dillon promised all of us that Harris would win. She even put videos out saying that Harris would win. I believed her.
Anybody who had a common sense and two functioning brain cells knew that she was not going to win, because if you actually sit down and looked at her rally, she just kept regurgitating the same bullshit. It was attacks on Donald Trump. Donald Trump's a Hitler. He's a fascist. He's a racist. He's going to be the next dictator one-on-one. It was never policy. It was never how to help the middle class struggling. It was never about the border. It was never about foreign policy. It was always attacks on Donald Trump's and stuff about the LGBT community. People who are in the middle class do not give a damn about the LGBT community, because LGBTs, they have rights. They're allowed to get married. They're allowed to have sex. They're allowed to have a baby. They are allowed to do whatever they want to do, just as normal walking people. But the middle class, which makes up 99% of the population, did not want to hear about that nonsense. They did not want to hear about, biological men, transgender women using the same bathrooms, same locker rooms, and competing in the same sports as biological females. That is completely and utterly ridiculous. They kept pushing that narrative to say that it was okay. That's what turned a lot of people off. Donald Trump spoke to the middle class, the people who have to get up every single day, go to work, punch in, punch out, provide for themselves and or their families, keep a roof over their head, food on the table, clothes on their backs, food in their stomach. She did not speak to the middle class, and it turned off the middle class, and they went to Donald Trump because Donald Trump was speaking to the middle class. He was able to effectively communicate his message and his policies better than Kamala Harris was, because Kamala Harris had no policies whatsoever. So that's why she got her ass kicked. She thought that bringing in all these A-list celebrities to endorse her and paying them off was going to win her the election in a landslide. It was a complete and utter disaster. She was the one that ended up getting her ass whipped in a landslide.
Donors believed her, and so they wrote massive checks. I feel like a lot of us were misled. And even on the night of election night, I looked somebody in the eye and I said, are we going to do this? Are we going to pull it off? She told me yes. And I asked somebody else, how are you feeling? He's like, we're going to win Iowa. And I was...
Yeah, that was another thing. When that report came out that Kamala Harris was reportedly leading in Iowa over Trump, that was the most laughable bullshit I've ever heard in my life. Iowa is always a red Republican conservative state. So the fact that that came out from the left-lying mainstream propaganda media, I knew that they were full of shit. That is like saying Kamala Harris is up in all those red conservative Republican states like Alabama, Missouri, Tennessee, Texas. Hell no. Anybody with a working brain cell was not going to believe that. But you would have those dumbasses on social media who support the left, who are stupid liberals, ran with it. And I looked at it, I just kept laughing, because I was like, when it comes down to election day, she is going to get her ass handed to her. And that's what happened. Anybody who thought Kamala Harris had a shot in hell of beating Donald Trump in Iowa was stupid as fuck.
Like,
Do you
what?
think, did they believe this going in? Was there a real sense of false confidence on the side of Kamala Harris, or did they know they were in store for disaster?
I was wondering about that. I was like, I asked them, are you privy to internal numbers that I am not seeing? Because I study this so carefully, and I just wasn't seeing any basis for that level of confidence. And I also want to remind our viewers that, the Trump campaign was touting all these incredible empirical data weeks before election night. What Harris is touting was the door knocking. She didn't say anything really about early voting. Now I know it's because there was nothing much to say.
Yeah. They had nothing to run off of because they saw the real data, they saw the real polls, and they saw that Kamala Harris was in for a rude awakening. She was down in the polls. She was down in the early voting data. But the mainstream media did not want to show that information to the public. They purposely lied and made it seem that Kamala Harris was up when she was in fact getting her ass handed to her. Kamala Harris underperformed in damn near every single 50 states. In states that Joe Biden did well, she did horribly. In states that were very blue, liberal, democratic, she did horribly. You look at New York, there was more red than blue this time around. Same thing in California. There was more red than blue. There was a lot of counties that voted and swung on the Republican ticket, that voted for Donald Trump instead of Kamala Harris, because they saw the bullshit that she was speaking. They saw that she was not a good fit to be president of the United States. She cannot answer anybody's questions. It was the same regurgitated talking points. Again, New York City was more of a swing state than fucking Florida was. New York City, where a Democrat, a liberal, usually wins by 20 or so points, she only won by what? 12, maybe 10 points. So New York swung completely from the left to the right. They voted more so on the Republican ticket because of Donald Trump. Now, is that gonna be the case for the 2020 election? We'll wait and see. But they were tired of the liberals. They were tired of the ideology that the left, that the Democrats, that the liberals were trying to push on people. They said, you know what? You motherfuckers are crazy. You have some insane ideology that we don't agree with. We ain't gonna get down. We're gonna go vote for Donald Trump because at least he's gonna try to bring back some type of common sense to the United States, to the middle class. These people, common sense is missing from their ideology. At least Donald Trump has that. So that's why she got her ass handed to her. People were not here to listen to LGBT stuff. They were not here to listen to men using locker rooms and bathrooms and being in the same sports leagues as women. That is insane. That is putting women in insane jeopardy. That is putting women in danger. They wanted to hear issues that matter to them, which is the economy, immigration, foreign policy. That's it. If you were not talking to those people, they didn't want to hear what you had to say because they kept repeating their frustrations, and the Democrats, the liberals, kept closing their ears and did not want to listen to what the people were saying. This was the American people saying, we are taking back our country and we're putting Trump over Kamala. Trump was a better candidate over Kamala Harris. Not that he was the greatest candidate, because we know Donald Trump has a lot of flaws to that man, character-wise speaking. But presidential candidate, of course, based off the two that we had to choose from, he was a clear, better choice. That's why she got her ass handed to her. Now, how in the hell is she going to pay off $20 million? Especially, how is she going to pay off all those staffers who reportedly have not gotten paid for their services the last 2-3 weeks of her campaign? Is she going to ask the middle class to donate to her more? There's been reports that now Kamala Harris is asking donors to donate more money to her so that they can insinuate a recount, which that's not going to happen. It's probably going to go to help pay off all those people that they owe money to and get her account current. Now, again, anybody who votes for Kamala Harris, you have a right to vote for who you want to vote for. I'm not going to shame you for that. But look at what you are going to vote for. This lady, Kamala Harris, said she was better suited to fix the economy over Donald Trump. She was bragging at all these economists, saying that her plan was 10 times better than Donald Trump, and she can't even properly budget or manage her campaign finances. This was the lady, this was the person who was supposed to handle and fix the economy that she destroyed. She would have completely destroyed the economy and completely destroyed what's left of the middle class. Thank God Trump won, because this right here was a clear example of her being unfit to be in the White House as commander in chief. Not because she was black or woman, is because she is unfit to do the job. Can't even budget or properly manage her own campaign money. How ridiculous does that sound? But let me know what you guys think about this. Do you agree, disagree with my commentary? Leave your comments down below. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. I will catch you guys later. Peace.